My name is Juan Salazar. I'm an anthropologist and filmmaker and an associate professor at Western Sydney University. I played a small role in the forest in Sydney. I had to curate the Art and Science Dialogue film program at the Powerhouse Museum. So I worked for about 6 months curating the program, reaching out to filmmakers. What I wanted to do with that film program was to add a new program to the forest. The forest has put a lot of effort in showing films for a long time, so they have their own ethnography film program and the Making and Doing program, so this was a complement to show films made by artists reflecting on science. What I wanted to do is basically create films that the premise was science and art meeting halfway, so not just showing scientific experiments, but creating a reflection. So there were texts by Clarice Lispector, by Ursula K. Le Guin, a film about Bruno Latour, etc. I think the conference has had a very important impact in the STS community in Sydney as well as in Australia. It's a small community but very vibrant. So a space like this allows people that usually know of each other but don't have the opportunity to be in the same space for a few days to come together and create, think together, think aloud together, and think where we're going with our work. So I think that has been the main impact of having a forest in Sydney. I think the other important thing is that the forest as a society has taken a lot of care and interest in moving around the world and incorporating societies from around the world, not only Australia but also Africa, Latin America, Asia. So I think that gives a lot of strength to the network of STS practitioners and academics around the world to be in touch with each other and find ways of collaborating beyond the normal avenues of academia, of the Anglo academia or the Northern academia. So I think that's been a very good impact.
I'm Alok Khandekar. I'm Assistant Professor of Anthropology at the Indian Institute of Technology in Hyderabad, India. And I've been involved in Forest Sydney in 2 ways. I was a member of the program committee, which was a smaller part of my work. But what I've been mainly doing for the past 10 months is to lead the STS Across Borders special exhibit, which is a digital component as well as a gallery style exhibit which has been installed here for the past 2 days on the 5th floor lobby. And what STS Cross Borders is as a curated history of how STS came about in particular kinds of formations, right? Be they departments, be they regional networks, be they academic journals, and we have had exhibitor groups narrate this history through uploading several kinds of found objects, so be they interviews, be they images, be they PDFs of articles that were published or books that have been important in the elaboration of this particular STS community. All of them have been annotated and curated by these exhibitor groups towards telling a history of STS and these particular kinds of formations. And what we did as part of the gallery exhibit here in Sydney was to do the exhibit in 2 ways. So on the first day, the exhibit was installed by the exhibitors themselves to talk about STS at Deakin University, STS in Australia at large, STS in India, STS in Turkey, STS in the East Asian Science, Technology and Societies Studies Journal, and so on. On the second day, we reorganized the posters so that you could now look at just how different exhibitors have talked about how STS started within their formation, or how STS has reached out to different audiences within their formations. And so it was meant to provoke this kind of comparative insight across STS, across different kinds of STS formations. And I think the STS Across Borders was responding to the provocation of transnational STS in fairly important ways. What we have on hand as a result is a very original archive of STS which we can begin to think about of almost as an infrastructure for what would it mean to think about a transnational STS. This is an infrastructure where we can actually begin a conversation between different kinds of STS communities with an awareness of the diverse kinds of beginnings and the diverse kinds of ways in which people have been thinking about STS and their particular kinds of locations. I think a somewhat pleasant and unexpected, but very pleasant outcome of the exhibit also has been that it really has become a moment of capacity building, in the sense that several groups, for instance, the STS in Turkey group or STS in Chile group, where STS communities are in nascent stages, or STS in India, which doesn't quite exist as an academic discipline so far, even though there is a very rich history of STS-like critiques in the country. And so for several groups, this becomes a moment of mutual learning, in much the way that we have been hearing in this conference at several different occasions. Right? And so this becomes an opportunity for people to think about, in another place, in another kind of formation, here is what seems to work, what might work, and those kinds of opportunities for mutual dialogue which STS Across Borders has opened up. And so I think this becomes an important kind of way to really think about what the future of transnational STS could look like, and we have, I think STS Across Borders becomes something of an infrastructure for enabling that kind of discussion.
I'm Emma Cover from Deakin University in Melbourne, and I am co-program chair of Forest Sydney, Transnational STS. It's been so exciting to be part of this conference. It's a big moment for us, for the organisation, to have the conference in this region for the second time only. It was in Japan in 2010, and we've had an amazing turnout, over 1,100 people from many, many countries, over 200 scholars from Asia. We've had over 350 Australian scholars come along, and many of those people might not have actually thought of themselves as science and technology scholars before. So Forest Sydney has been really a field-defining moment for STS in Australia, and we're really excited to see where the future is headed.
I'm Timothy Neal, and I'm a research fellow at Deakin University and deputy convener of the Deakin Science and Society Network. I was on the conference committee for 4S 2018. My role was mostly around working on the peer review process and the scheduling, and I also helped put together the Indigenous STS plenary. For me, 4S 2018 being in Sydney was a huge opportunity for scholars in Australia and the region to kind of discover themselves as STS scholars. STS has an uncertain kind of institutional place here in Australia, and I think 4S has a real ability to be their second home, the second place that they go to, apart from their disciplinary home. For me, the possibility for 4S and the future of transnational STS here in the Australasian region is really to be a support for all the different nodes that are popping up, who all have quite different institutional groundings. So in some cases, you know, there'll be strong foundations in a particular discipline or a particular university, and 4S has a real possibility to link those different nodes without ever having to say, you have to be a certain kind of institution to engage with us.
I'm Kari Lancaster. I'm a Senior Research Fellow and Scientia Fellow at the Centre for Social Research in Health at the University of New South Wales here in Sydney, and I've had the pleasure of being the Logistics Committee Chair for 4S 2018. It's been a fantastic opportunity to meet a whole range of people working in STS in Australia. I'm a relative newcomer to this field. I've come to this field via critical drug studies and drug policy research, and there's an incredibly vibrant community surrounded around those matters of concerns to do with viral hepatitis, drug use, addiction, and troubling those concepts. But it's fantastic to be able to connect with a broader group of scholars engaged in all kinds of matters of concern, and understanding how, as a scholarly group, we might come together and share insights and think about how we can contribute to making more livable worlds. So as a relative newcomer to the field who is now absolutely connected to this community, I'm excited to see how this network that's been established really through this conference in Australia might continue into the future, and might make connections across what has been quite isolated groups of people in various institutional settings, and become a more dynamic, connected, and integrated community into the future. And we hope that 4S will be a part of that internationally as we take that forward.
Hi, my name's Tao Fan. I'm a PhD student at the University of Melbourne. At 4S Sydney, I was one of the conference secretaries. When I think about having 4S in Sydney and its significance, it really is about bringing a big international conference here to Australia and changing and connecting all the different STS communities here. And mutually, on the other hand, how then that changes what 4S becomes and what 4S is as an organisation as a result of being hosted here.
Hi, my name is Sophie Adams. I'm a PhD student at the University of New South Wales here in Sydney. I've been involved in 4S Sydney as one of the conference secretaries. It's been really great to see how the conference has brought together scholars from across different disciplines and subject areas who might not otherwise see the connections between their work.
Hi, my name is Matthew Kearns. I'm based at the University of New South Wales in the School of Humanities and Languages. I'm one of the co-chairs of 4S 2018 with Emma Koval. I guess one of the things that people have asked me as I've been walking around the conference is they've commented on how much work it might have been to help organise a conference. But actually, it's been a complete pleasure. It's been a real pleasure to be involved in a conference in a way that I hadn't been involved in the past. And it's given me a real insight into how an organisation such as 4S sort of operates and how it represents the field of science and technology studies. I've sort of engaged with the conference in ways that have helped me see different kind of connections between bodies of scholarship, which have actually deepened my understanding and appreciation for both the depth of the field, but also its timeliness. And it's great to have 4S here in Sydney, and it's been a kind of almost a kind of passion to see a 4S conference down here in Australia.
My name is Tijns Jerak, and I'm Associate Professor of Science and Technology Studies at Linköping University in Sweden, and I'm also based at the VU University in Amsterdam. I'm a council member for the 4S, and I also served as chair together with Michaela Spencer for the Making and Doing program for this conference. One of the really interesting things for me for this conference was the Making and Doing program itself, not just because I organized it, but because it was in a different site for the first time, a different location. And I was sort of curious if that was really going to work out, but many people showed up. So it shows that Making and Doing is no longer something that you just happen to run into at one of these conferences. It's actually something people come for and want to attend. And it was a very interesting program with an enormous range of diverse projects of people working on different forms of knowledge production, expression and travel that doesn't fit the article or book per se. The other thing that was really interesting is that we held these connective crits, which were people discussing a cluster of projects rather than focusing on individual projects, which I thought was really interesting because it gives you a sense of how things relate. If you think through the connections between what different people are doing in a related area. So that's been really exciting. The 4S is committed to making and doing part of its scholarship and definitions of scholarship in a full sense. It's a program that will keep on running. And people who are interested should look at the Making and Doing pages on the 4S website and feel free to submit to that.
So I'm Michaela Spencer. I'm a researcher in the Northern Institute in Charles Darwin University. I've got a strong background in STS, but my work there really involves in employing those skills and resources that I've learned from STS in the area of Indigenous research and policy development. And in this conference, I've been involved in the Making and Doing program. It's been really wonderful to be involved in that program, supporting scholarship that might not be otherwise recognised within the conference to have a space, and really working with the particular site, the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney here, to use its resources and nuances to support people in their making and doing presentations. As an Australian scholar involved in organising this event and attending this event, it's been amazing to have an opportunity for many of my colleagues in Darwin and also colleagues in Deakin to be able to join together in this conference. I think it's been really formative for young Australian STS scholars to be able to be involved in an international conference of this level, and I really feel that going forward their experience around situated practice and working with different knowledges can be of benefit to the field as a whole. So I'm hoping that this will be a formative starting ground for many of these young scholars to go on and contribute and continue speaking with their international collaborators and companions into the future.
Hello, my name is Kim Fortune and I'm the president of the Society for Social Studies of Science, and our 2018 annual meeting in Sydney was convened around the theme of transnational STS. Our purpose in configuring the conference around that theme was to encourage activities, sessions, workshops that really drew out the geopolitical diversity of STS, what STS looks like in different regions of the world, in different departments, in different intellectual traditions, realizing that that diversity really enriches what STS as a whole is. Another advantage of thinking in terms of transnational STS, very bolded trans, is the many challenges of translating, whether it's across borders, regional and national borders, across disciplines, between academic research and practice. So really exploring what the many different translations that science and technology studies scholars engage in. And last, I think that the national side of it begged us to think about what forms of collectivity are in play in the world. Nations are a dominant form of collectivity with many problems. And so in asking about nations, we also ask about the forms of collectivity scholars could have that might supplement the nation as an organizational form in positive ways. Really, how can scholars organize themselves so that they can make vital and critical contributions to the way nations operate in the world? And I can say I think we've been really successful in organizing ourselves to address all three of those. It's been a wonderful conference.